Hey, as I was on the bat cruise with the ACA yesterday, I got to thinking about bats in the Bible. Did you know that the Bible classifies bats as birds or fowl, depending on your translation? Leviticus and Deuteronomy put them right next to eagles and sparrows. That's ridiculous, right? Well, for the time, it's not that ridiculous. They didn't know the difference between sparrows, eagles, and bats. But we know that bats are mammals. They have fur, they nurse their young, they have more in common with us than any sparrow. But I think this is more than just some sort of trivial taxonomic trip-up. I think it's a sign of a deeper problem with the Bible. If the Bible can't be trusted to properly classify a simple bat, then why should it be trusted to answer the broader, deeper questions of morals, laws, and the meaning of everything? If you think you know, call us, because the show starts now.
Welcome, one and all. Today is August 17th in the year of our Dark Lord, 2025. I'm your host, Forrest Valkai, and I'm joined right now by secular Rarity and the cross-examiner. Examiner.
That's my name.
And later on today, I will be joined by JMike and Objectively Dan. We've got 5 whole hosts ready for you to talk about whatever gods you do or don't believe in. This is the Atheist Experience, a product of the Atheist community of Austin. And today, the only time this year we do this, we are live at the Free Thought Library in front of a live studio audience. Look at them. They're great. Oh, you see, that one over there is my favorite.
Which one? The one right there in the center?
No, the other one.
Okay. They know. Before we get started, a couple of things I want to say. The first thing that I have to say is that the Atheist community, Atheist Experience, is a product of the Atheist community of Austin, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. The second thing that I want to say is that if you are watching this and you're a theist or a creationist, if you believe in gods or demons or angels, if you don't believe in evolution or the age or shape of the earth, if you have a problem with people like us that don't believe in these fundamental things, that aren't a fan of Jesus or the Bible, this is your chance to have serious conversations with people who disagree with you. We live in a toxic internet culture where everybody loves screaming at everybody, and I'm not saying that isn't going to happen, but I am saying that that's not the point. The point is to give you an opportunity to talk to people like us, and for us to get to talk to people like you, and for our lives to be enriched together. So, if you are one of those people, if you have a god or a gods that you believe in, and you want to talk about it with some people who don't believe, this is your chance. Call that number on the bottom of the screen, or use the web link there on the bottom of the screen as well to call in over them internets if you don't want to use up all your minutes, or if you're calling from another country or anything like that. Before we get started, how are you?
Hey, good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm excited to be here. This is my first time at the studio and on the bat cruise and meeting everybody, and it's just so much more than I thought it would be. I'm really happy I came. How about you guys?
I'm excited. I was here last year. We did this. It was a super great time then. An even better time this time. The boat worked. The bats worked. They also came out. You know, that's one of the things about dealing with live animals in your experience.
Yeah.
It's like, you just kind of got to deal with whatever the animals want to do. It's like, bats don't want to come out tonight. It's like, all right, cool. They're not hungry. But
any actor worth their salt will say never work with animals.
That's right. But this time it worked out really well.
It was like a dream. It was magical. Yeah, no, we cruised up and down the river, whatever. It's got a name. We saw a great many bats, and more importantly, we got to meet a great many people. We had so many folks come out from all over the country, and a couple from outside of the country as well, just to come over and hang out with us, get to meet us, get to know us, take pictures, and just chat. And that's the best part about events like this and communities like this. I've said before, and I'll say again, the thing that the atheist community as a whole is lacking the most is the community aspect. And that's why organizations like the Atheist Community of Austin are so incredibly important, because people need a place to go to know that they're not crazy and they're not alone. When you leave religion, you have all the weight of all that trauma and all that baggage upon your shoulders by yourself. You've lost your family, you've lost your community, you've lost your church, you've lost your friends, you've lost all of these things potentially. And that could be really scary and really problematic and really harmful and really hurtful and really freaking difficult to deal with. And that's why this community is here for you out there who are going through these things, who have questions, who are deconstructing, who are doubting, who just want to know whether or not atheists are just angry people who want to sleep in on a Sunday, or if we actually have something interesting to say. For all of you, you are welcome here. This is an open and inclusive environment. As long as you're not a dick, you are welcome to come hang out with us.
Yeah.
And if you are, you're welcome to call in the show and make some content for us.
Can't both be true? Can't we be angry people who just want to sleep in, but also nice to other people?
I didn't say we weren't. I'm saying we're not just that.
Okay, all right.
We've gotten a little hot over the weekend. And look, honestly, I agree with you, Forrest. We love to have that opportunity where people, hash out nuanced, difficult, conversations. We get to really dig in and learn from each other. But look, I'm just gonna let you know, if you want to make me look like an idiot, now's a good time. Call in with your gotchas, what am I going to do? I'm just some dipshit, come on, show me how smart and cool you are and why your fundamental ontological presuppositional bullshit is whatever. Come on, prove it.
It really is like the biggest opportunity, and that's the amount of people that come into my comment sections on all platforms to tell me how easily they could destroy me in a debate versus the amount of people that actually call into any of the shows that I do.
It's so weird.
It's a ridiculous
do you ever respond with hey, I'll be live at this date and time? And
literally, it is the most common thing that I put in my
Copy
own
and
comment
paste.
sections. It's just, hey, I host shows on this platform and this platform. These are my next 3 shows. When can I expect your call?
Crickets.
And it never happens.
Every time.
And the thing is that I hope that the people out there watching understand is that we don't prepare for this.
No.
We prepared by showing up.
Right.
You call in, we get a thing on the screen that says this guy's calling in, this is what they want to talk about. We click talk, and that's the whole thing. So you can do all the prep work you want, and we got to take it on as it is. This is the best chance you could ever have to prove God to 3 people who don't believe in it. And the thousands of people that watch this show, think of all the souls you could save.
If
only you could show how silly and ridiculous. You don't have to try to make us look silly and ridiculous. We are silly and ridiculous. But
we'll do that on our
you could also make us look like we're bad atheists, and that's the key.
Guys, you don't think they're scared? Is it? Do you think they're afraid? Do you
I
think
hope
they're
not. I hope
just
not.
scared,
I think-
shaking in their boots in their basements?
I would want them to think about it like we're at the church fair and we're sitting in the dunking booth. But
Yes.
you get to throw balls for free and bring any size ball you want.
All right.
Just step up, take your shot, and we'll see if you can score a bullseye.
So there you
Just
have
a
it.
Quick disclaimer: please do not throw things at the host.
There's a wall partitioning us here.
That's right.
and
We are
they're at
safe.
home.
We're safe.
So bring your balls to the Atheist Experience. Call that number on the bottom of the screen.
Atheist
or use
Experience. Put your balls on the line.
Put your balls on the line. It's time to put your balls where your mouth is.
Blast
because
us
we can have this conversation
with your giant balls.
Yes. And let's start by hearing about the balls of our first caller, who is Ulrich, pronouns he and him, calling in all the way from Mexico, who says that atheism is based on fallacious reasoning. I already have questions about those words, but let's see where it goes. Ulrich, you are on the Atheist Experience with not just Forrest and not just secular Rarity, but also, most importantly, with the Cross Examiner.
Yes, hello, how are you?
Good.
Never had a bad day, man.
Oh,
Hey, can you hear us?
yeah, right. Me neither.
Hell yeah.
Yes, can't you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
we
yeah.
can.
Hello?
Why don't you tell us what our fallacious reasoning is?
Yeah. What you got for us?
Yeah, it's all based on just the observation of now and totally ignoring all the experiences of humanity for the last thousands of years.
Okay, that's just so you know, real quick. That's not
Totally
fallacious.
ignoring what is happening.
Hang on, Ulrich. I just want to stop because I think what you're getting at, there's a deeper discussion that we can have that's worthwhile. But the way you're already starting off is silly. That's not fallacious what you just talked about. Okay, it's not a fallacy in the formal logical syllogistic sense. So let's just have normal conversation. You say, "Hey guys, your atheism doesn't account for all the experiences that people have had over the years." Okay, fine. Let's talk about that, Ulrich. My response, and then I'll let you go back to it. My response is, yeah, man, but personal experiences is not a good way to come to a conclusion, okay? So now let's have the conversation.
And I have one extra point is most people actually don't discount those experiences. We do account for them, and we've assessed them, and we have found them to be wanting. So saying we don't account for them or don't realize them, I think, is a bit of a straw man.
Are you literally turning pages in a script? I just want to ask real quick. I swear I just thought I heard pages turn. It's fine if you are, Ulrich, but like if you got found out that fucking quick, bro, I'm not sure. I'm sorry. Please go ahead. Read the next bullet point.
What are you thinking, Orrick?
May I respond to that? Or?
Yes, of course.
Yes, it just sounded like paper, and that's very funny.
He was
for a
just
lot
feeding
of
his
reasons.
parrot.
Yeah, it's paper. I'm taking notes.
Okay, fine,
okay.
good.
That's
Fine,
cool,
fine,
yeah.
fine. Come on.
Down on paper.
Best reason to have paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, right. There's a lot of reasons I have paper. So, and I brought my ball. So you call me silly, and you just start by talking about, again, like in every call, about genitals. Why is that?
Hang on. Ulrich.
Start with genitals.
Ulrich.
Life starts with
Yeah,
genitals.
let's not go down this route. Let's not worry about that. We're going to toss it back to you.
Yeah.
What do you think about what myself and Cross-Examiner just said about this whole atheism is fallacious thing? Let's do that.
Yeah.
I think that you started with balls and stuff. That shows your level is always so base, so low. Why is that?
If you don't address the question, we're going to have a lot of balls in the air here, and we won't know what to focus on.
Orrick, I assure you, I would love to talk about genitals for the rest of this call. But that's not the point, and that's not what we're here for. You said that atheism is fallacious or based on fallacious reasoning because we don't account for all the lived experiences of all these religious people. Elliot and Graham just very succinctly told you why that's a bit silly. We would like to know now your response. Were you using the word fallacious colloquially, and you don't actually mean that literally? Do you understand that we do take into account all these lived experiences? We just don't take them very seriously because they're not good enough? Or do you think that we're missing something still?
What you call what's the word? Like you take the position before.
Presupposition,
That's because we have experienced God before. How should we not then take that and go further with that in our investigation of how the world works?
So I would ask you, Ulrich, the exact same question. What about all of the experiences of other deities that you don't believe in, or monsters that you don't believe in, like dragons and Bigfoot and aliens and stuff, or all the other possible ghosts and brownies and leprechauns and all these things that all sorts of people believe in that you don't? Do you think you're missing something by not taking all of their anecdotal evidence seriously? Or do you think that at the end of the day, what you actually need to believe in a thing is real, serious evidence, unless it's God?
And I'm taking them more seriously than you because
Okay, that's a shit response,
Well,
Ulrich.
let's hear him. Let's hear him out. How are you taking this more seriously than me? I want to hear that.
Because I think that if somebody tells me like a ghost appeared before me, I really believe that a spirit appeared before them. You don't. You just
Right. So you're just accepting
you're gullible.
it. You're
Yeah.
right. You're just accepting it based on the first thing that somebody tells you. That is not adequately taking their experience into account. In fact, you are being not only disingenuous, but you are being rude to them and their experience. If Forrest comes up and tells me that he just got abducted by aliens, and I just go, yeah, man, live your fucking life thinking that aliens are probing your butthole every other Sunday. That is being a shitty person to Forrest, because that is not the actual reality. What I'm not doing, though, is saying, hey, man, Forrest, you're just crazy. You didn't actually have... No, I am legitimately saying, okay, what is this experience that he had? Let me try and assess that based on the categories of experiences that have occurred in life. We know that things happen just in our minds. We know hallucinations happen. How do I know Forrest wasn't having a weird hallucination, you know? Like if you have a vitamin B deficiency for too long, you can just start seeing all kinds of crazy shit, man. Like just accepting people at their word for these types of experiences is not taking their experiences seriously. In fact, it's the exact opposite. You're just letting them live their lives in this state without ever once saying to them, hey man, you might want to be careful, that stove is hot. Like, that's not cool, dude.
What do you think about that, Ulrich?
Why am I rude, and why do you have to talk about buttholes again? Why can't you have a level of
because Ulrich, we are adults who are humans, and we enjoy a little bit of humor like everybody else. So what do you think about secular Rarity's response? Rather than clutching your pearls for the 80th time on this call, can you just respond to his point that buying in instantly in a gullible way, just accepting blindly anything that anybody tells you about ghosts and goblins, as you said, is a disservice to that person? Can you please respond to his point?
I never said I accept blindly what they tell me. I say I interpret it differently.
Were we all on the same call?
He literally said he believes a ghost appeared.
The first time.
Yeah, that's literally what you said, bro.
Exactly what you said.
Is that what they said, audience? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, they agree. Okay.
I mean, if you don't look...
We all heard it.
If you don't stand by that anymore,
we can back
Ulrich,
off.
that's fine. We'll back off.
That's you.
Say again?
So you need the audience to agree with you so you can feel better about yourself.
No, I polled them. I gathered more data. I gathered more data. The three of us heard something, but we're here in a studio with bright lights, and maybe we didn't remember correctly, so I looked out to them as, do I remember that correctly? And they said, yes, that's what you said.
Gotta wonder.
You can go rewind the tape, but...
I gotta wonder if you engage with other people in your life.
I take notes. That's why I take...
Shut up. I got you on the fucking mute. I gotta wonder if you engage with other people like this in your life, man. It's a really, really odd way to have conversation and incredibly difficult to actually communicate and make progress, okay? So, let's just try it. We'll just try it. We'll just like start all the fucking over shit again. Say, hey, Ulrich, you're on the Atheist Experience. You think atheists are wrong about things, and the reason is because we're not adequately addressing the experiences that people say they have had with supernatural stuff. Well, gosh, Forrest, Graham, I really feel like a good answer to that is that there's a lot of weird brainy stuff that happens. And, you know, because we're all humans, we oftentimes see similar patterns in the world around us. Sure. Do you feel like that fucking accounts for that shit?
Absolutely.
And I feel like a great way to check would be to like check.
Oh.
And not just assume that a lot of people believing a thing means that that thing is probably true. You know?
Do we have a way of checking? Is there a method of some sort that we could use?
I believe they do. I believe they do.
Something like that. So, hey, Ulrich, after all of that, what do you think? I'm going to let you back on. What do you think here, buddy?
Okay, I think you're being silly on purpose. The scientific method only explains to you the natural world.
What else is there?
Includes the supernatural by definition.
Can you please
The supernatural.
Can you please define what is the meaning of supernatural? And two, could you please tell me how you have detected it?
Okay, number one, supernatural, everything that is not observable in nature. That's the definition.
Can you define observable so we're on the same page? Hold on. Let's take it one at a time. Can you please define observable?
Will you let me finish my answer?
No, I won't let you finish because you pulled in a word that's going to be key to your argument, and I want to make sure we're on the same page. Can you please define observable? What does it mean to be able to observe something?
Scientifically observable by our methods that we have with our senses, seeing, listening, etc.
What about devices that detect things that we can't?
That's observable.
What about devices that detect things that we cannot detect using our senses? Do those count?
Yes. You mean like radio waves and stuff like that?
Correct.
Sure.
It's an honest question. I'm not setting a trap. I just want to help you define terms so that when we get to the next part of your argument, we know the scope of what you mean by observable. That's all I'm asking. So observable means anything that's detectable that we can measure somehow, right? Observe with our senses, build a machine to detect gravitational waves, whatever it may be, that counts as observable. Is that correct?
I was setting a trap, but I say yes.
Okay. What is the next part?
Yes. Yes to the trap. Here we go.
What's the next part?
No,
there's no trap. What's the next part?
No, that was the question. I'm just asking you to continue.
Yeah.
So we now know what you mean by supernatural. My second question was, how have you detected the supernatural and shown that it exists?
I've experienced God. For example, he responded to my prayer. And I think that's not natural, because if you just like talk into the air, you will not get a response if there is no person listening to you.
How do you know he responded to your prayer?
Because I was lost in a foreign country and I needed to get out before I would get arrested. And then he told me, follow the blue. And then there was a blue line.
How did he tell you?
I followed them and they
How
sent
are
me
you
right
told?
out.
How are you told?
Were you told by a letter? Was there a
Did
voice?
you audibly hear a sound of a voice?
No. In my mind appeared a blue line in that moment. I was eating and in my mind appeared a blue line.
Oh, okay.
And then I go outside and I see that blue line on the ground. And I follow it. It leads me right out.
Just out of curiosity, did you see this blue line Did you see this blue line before this moment as well?
Unconsciously, maybe.
Okay. So is it possible?
So yeah, unconsciously.
Is it possible, Ulrich? I'm not saying this is what happened, but is it possible that what you're describing is having an idea that you just had this thing, you knew this line existed, and you were in a moment where you were focusing on like, how the hell do I get out of it? And then you just, a thought popped into your head, hey, this blue line's there, and you thought maybe I should go follow it, and you did, and it worked. Do you think maybe that might be what happened?
Into my head. Yes, you're excluding the supernatural to looking for natural.
I'm not excluding the supernatural. I asked you if it is possible that there is another explanation.
I think there's something we need to clarify, because I took it a different way when he said something. So, Ulrich, we just need a clarification here. When you say you prayed and then you saw a blue line, at that point, do you think the rest of us would have seen the blue line? Do you mean you noticed a blue line that was already there, like on the ground, painted or somehow, or on a map there was a line? Or do you mean more in the mystical sense of the line magically appeared to you, but other people that were there would not have seen it? Which meaning do you mean?
Okay, while I was praying, it appeared in my mind. Then I went outside, and it was literally painted.
Okay, so it is a physical line that you just thought of. So that's the same thing. Also, I want to point out that what you are describing, in a way, is an observation.
Yeah.
Which means that it wouldn't be supernatural in that case.
Right.
I have other questions, but I really want to get to the bottom of this first. So I want to just ask again. You have to understand, if real thing, this is a serious talk. In my house, I have a hallway that leads away from my bedroom. And when I walk down that hallway, it's kind of narrow, and the door often slams behind me in that bedroom. And it's because of just the air pressure change. As I walk down this hallway, it pushes air away in front of me, kind of makes a vacuum behind me, sucks that door in. It is possible that it's a goddamn ghost, or a fairy, or a demon, or a leprechaun, or some other supernatural thing that is actually slamming that door behind me. I'm not discounting a supernatural explanation. I'm not excluding a supernatural explanation. I just have a natural explanation that is much more likely. So I'm kind of going with that until I have something that can disprove that. Do you understand that difference? Because when I said, is it possible that there was a naturalistic way that you could think about this blue line, you accused me of deliberately excluding the supernatural, and I didn't. So do you understand the difference between coming up with an alternative hypothesis versus outright ruling out anything that I don't like? Do you get how those are different concepts?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Good.
So then back to the original question then.
I had a similar experience.
Is it possible, not saying it is what happened, but the original question, is it possible that the situation you were describing, the experience you had, was simply having an idea? You knew that blue line was there, you saw it before, you may not have thought about it before, but you had seen it, and now you're in this situation that's very stressful, and you're thinking, how the hell do I get out of where I'm at? And then the idea comes to you, maybe I can follow this blue line. And you interpret that as an answered prayer, but what it really was just your brain being a brain and coming up with an idea. Is that a possible explanation for what you experienced?
Yes.
Okay. So now, final question.
Possible.
How did you go about making the determination that it was not just you having an idea, which happens to everybody all the time, every day, several times a day, but it instead was divine intervention, an intercessory moment where a supernatural being interfered with your mind and caused you to think this thing? How did you determine that it was that happened and not the totally mundane reality of just having a thought pop into your head, as happens all the time forever?
Number one, because I was praying right at the time. And number two, that's not random reality. It happens all the time. You don't get solutions just popping into your mind.
You're talking
Yes,
about
you do.
coincidences. Ulrich, you're talking about literal coincidences and just the basics of thinking. Like, this is how it works. If I turn to Cross and I say, man, like what did you have for breakfast? Or like, tell me a story about, when you were a child in school or something. Like, it just pops into his fucking mind almost like magic. That's why we're so confused about consciousness still.
That's really what bothers me, is that you're saying that like this couldn't have been a coincidence. I was praying and then this thought came to me. Right. What you just described, Ulrich, is thinking. Answers just pop into your mind when you think about them. When you think about a problem, your mind creates an answer. It happens every time I've ever thought about a problem. Math, science, you name it. If I'm thinking about the problem, answers pop into my mind, and they're not all good, but they are all doing the same thing that you just described. You were focusing on this problem through prayer, through meditation, through deep contemplation. However, you had your mind fixed on this problem, and then an idea came to you. How did you determine that it wasn't just the same thing as when you stare at a math problem and think, what could it possibly be? Maybe it's this number, and it pops into your mind, versus an intercessory being that came down and fiddled with your brain? Like, how did you make that distinction?
I have a question for you, Ulrich, that maybe would frame this conversation, because your first go-to answer was, I prayed and then this thing happened. Now, because it's prayer, I'm agreeing that, you're thinking and you got an answer. That's mundane, no big deal. But let's imagine you prayed for the fire hydrant to blow up and then it blew up, right? So to use that as a proof or an argument for the existence of God is to confuse correlation with causation. It's called post hoc ergo propter hoc. After a thing, therefore because of that thing. Just because you prayed and then got an answer doesn't mean that the prayer caused the answer. Prayers happen all the time. People pray and don't go where they want all the time. 10,000 kids on this planet die every single day of starvation. Are you telling me their parents aren't praying for salvation? So your argument comes down to after a thing, therefore because of a thing, which is a point of study. I agree. It's sort of the beginning of the scientific process. Hey, is this repeatable? Right. Let's do this again and again. Let's go look at all the parents praying for their starving kids. Let's look at the people praying for cancer to go away. Magically, the prayers to make cancer go away work all the time. The prayers to grow limbs back never happen. That's kind of interesting, don't you think? So if we take your first argument of after prayer, therefore because of prayer, and we apply it to the broader world, we see that these things that happen because of prayer are mundane, and the things that would be against everything we know never happen. So how do you respond to all of this?
So first of all, How do you know it never happens that limbs grow back? I've heard stories that actually happens.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
Wow.
I'm so sorry.
Right.
Hang on.
Wow.
I'm fucking muting you again. Ulrich. I truly believe you are not a fucking idiot. Okay? I don't think you are the actual dipshit that you've been presenting, okay? I really do believe you are a functional, rational, decently intelligent human being, bro. And for some reason, you came on here and twice have been like, yeah, man, I just take people at their word for whatever bullshit they spout at me, and then go and be like, nah, man, I don't just believe everything I hear. Man, Gullible's written on the ceiling in the studio. You want to come check? I mean, come on, man. You are better than this. I know you are. And I know you don't accept things like this in your daily life, okay? Yes. Obviously, there are stories of Bigfoot, of limbs growing back, of pastors being resurrected after being buried for 3 days. But you want to know what? There's a billion other stories on the other side of that scale that totally outweighs that, man.
With medical records and photographic evidence.
Oh my God,
and court
And all the
testimony.
things that those stories don't have. Yeah.
Exactly. It's so weird, but like the kid that fell through the ice that was dead for like 20 minutes or whatever, for some reason it happened like back in 1978 in some farm that nobody's really sure what town it was actually in, and like, was it Billy or Timmy or Johnny?
Doesn't matter.
I don't know. 15
It's
minutes,
proof.
20. Fuck it all. Come on, Ulrich. You don't accept this in your daily life, bro. And you are desperately trying to hold on to some of these things because they provide you comfort. And I understand that. I don't have a problem with people accepting some things because it makes them feel better. Shit, I do the same thing. I don't actually know that male puppies will pretend to be bad at tasks so that female puppies will play with them longer. I don't know that that's true, but I live in that world. I accept that because it makes me happy when I go to sleep at night, okay? I just think that's adorable. But look, that doesn't actually have any bearing on the reality around me. The stuff that you're talking about harms you. It has the potential to harm other people, and there's a reason you don't accept this other crap in your daily life, man. I know you're better than this, Ulrich. I know you are, dude. And I'm sorry I ranted. I don't know. I guess maybe it was the bats. I got rabies or something. I was just feeling hot, you guys. I'll bring you back on. I'm sorry for yelling at you, but man, I know you're fucking better than this, Ulrich.
What are your thoughts, Ulrich?
How does that harm me? You just said
Because it makes you gullible.
Right.
Okay, it makes you it puts you further into the realm of gullibility, and gullibility is harmful. We are all gullible about certain things. If I come up to you and say, you know, I've got this new company I've heard about that is doing AI predictive text stuff, then it's going to blow up. And if you give me $100,000, I will invest it for you, and you're going to get at least a 20% annual return. You would be skeptical of me. You would want things like, hey, show me financial statements. Show me the actual documents that this companies actually exist. Take me to their headquarters. $100,000's a lot of money. I would have to run a huge scam to trick you because you would be skeptical of that. You should be that skeptical, i.e., question the evidence and come to a reasonable conclusion about it, about everything. If you believe stories that limbs grow back, but you explain away why that hasn't resulted in a Nobel Prize, what would that look like? Have you heard of the James River Church? Okay, they a year or two ago said, hey, we've had a miracle. We had a person, she lost her toes, we prayed for her, and the toes have grown back. They didn't realize the attention they were going to get from the press. Everybody came in. Somebody set up a website. I pulled it up now called showmethetoes.com, all right? And what happened? Did they show her? Did they show her toes, right? Because they had a video of her saying, I grew my toes back. But as soon as the worldwide press attention came on them, what did they say? Oh, well, we want to protect her privacy. We don't want to show this. What would have happened if it was real? Here are her toes. Here are the medical records. Here are the doctors that examined her. Here are the records showing they were amputated before. Here's an examination that shows that they're here now. We are now going to win a Nobel Prize, and we are going to open the church study of religion and God, at least as far as amputation repairs, in every every single university around the world. There'll be a whole new scientific field of study here, right? How is this happening? That's not what happened. They just said, oh, well, she doesn't really want to share. So what's more likely here, right? What's more likely? God grew back the toes, or people occasionally lie for profit or fun? You don't want to be the gullible person, whether it's a little thing about I grew my toes back, or I should invest $100,000, or there's not a tiger in that grass, so I'm just going to walk over there. You shouldn't be gullible. That's harmful. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Good.
But I personally know people who got healed from cancer.
I was healed from cancer.
Yeah,
I was stage 4 colorectal cancer. I was diagnosed three days before my 40th birthday. You know what cured me? It wasn't my mother-in-law who prayed for me or my friends who prayed for me and all of that. It was going and finding the best medical help I could get. And quite frankly, the fact that I lived 3 years, I got diagnosed 3 years later than my being 36. Because if I was diagnosed about 3 or 5 years earlier than I would not be here today, because science fixed the problem. And because I won a genetic lottery, I responded really well to the chemo. So how do you detect the difference between me and your friend who says God cured me? Because there's a ton of people like me who just go to the doctor, they get fixed, healed of cancer, all sorts of things, and a few people who'll say, hey, they cured my glaucoma or my cancer or whatever. How do we tell the difference between the two?
Yeah, funny enough, we've had prayer and disease for a really long time in human history, and only when medical science came on the scene
the
did
diseases start going away.
Right.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs got cancer, chose not to get treatment, go with the spiritual approach, and he died. How do you explain that, right?
Bob Marley, too.
Oh, yeah. So I mean this in the best way, the honest way. Put away the childish things. Right? You are grasping for excuses to be gullible. Don't be gullible. You can still live your spiritual life, but then acknowledge the reality of the world. We have not detected a supernatural, almost by definition. As soon as somebody does, they will win a Nobel Prize. And everything you've ever heard is just stories and miracles, and there is a big declining curve of miracles happening with the invention of the camera.
And real quick, I know we've shouted a lot at you, Ulrich, and I promise I'll shut up after this. I promise I will. But just real quick on that point. Yeah, you're right. They pay me not to, man. Very, very little. So when you actually accept that approach that you were just talking about as a believer, when you truly stop trying to shield your belief from all of the very, very available evidence around us, you actually get a stronger faith. Now, I know that's crazy. A host on the AXP is telling you how to get a stronger faith, but dude, actually delve into this stuff. I know so many pastors now. You would be surprised. And so many of them have absolutely no problem just being like, yeah, you know what? Honestly, I don't really have a super good reason to believe Jesus comes back in the form of crackers or anything, but I just kind of do it, you know? You know what's cool about them? Those are the people that are regularly going out in their community and doing good. Those are the people that are actively fighting for a better world. And they don't have to pretend that their God made some boat 2,000 years ago and flooded the whole fucking earth to do that. You can still have all of the best things that you get out of this, Ulrich, and just put away all the bullshit, man. Join the secular side. The water is great, man.
And what SR is saying is true. You better arm yourself to detect what? Fraudulent preachers. Pastors, right? Because we know they're out there. If you come to a point where you are accepting the limitations of your own knowledge, but also realizing that people will lie for fun and profit, you can seek out a community that is as spiritual as you, but is not vulnerable to these hucksters or to false claims that are based on religion. And more importantly, you also stop giving cover to those in that same community who would do harm in the name of religion. So distancing yourself from excuses and dealing with reality does not necessarily mean you are going to lose something as a person. I agree with you. I think he will gain a tremendous amount.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
What do you think, Ulrich? We've said a lot of things to you here. I still have questions for you, but I want to hear what you say to all this. Just the concept of skepticism as a general good, atheist or otherwise. What do you think?
But two two things, like the example I gave and the example you just gave that you were cured from cancer. So people praying for you and then the medicine helping you, how can that not go together? It's the same thing.
Because I'll tell you why. There's a very simple example, and this is what we were talking about, post hoc ergo propter tap.
Yep.
After the prayer, therefore because of the prayer. 100% of people that have been cured after receiving medication were cured after they received medication. Of those people, less than 100% were cured after they received prayer. Prayer seems to be the excuse we give when people are cured, but medication is the consistent thing. Very few people are cured of cancer without medication, but we're aware of natural remission. But when I take those groups and break them up into people who were prayed for and people who weren't, we don't see a difference. There was something called the National Prayer Study, the Great Prayer Study. It was done by the Templeton Foundation, a very religious organization who honestly seeks out evidence of God. I respect them a lot. They don't sit around and gaze at their belly buttons and say, I guess I believe in ghosts because I need to believe in God. They go out and say, what proof can we find? Because they want to be scientific about it. They studied the largest study of people who had serious heart conditions and were divided into two halves. Some were prayed for and some were not. There was no difference between the groups in results. This is called intercessory prayer. God did not intercede in a greater rate between those two groups. In fact, there were subgroups where some of the people were told they were being prayed for, and some were, those that were prayed for were not told that they were being prayed for. The people who were told they were being prayed for actually had statistically significant worse medical outcomes. So every time we look at this, we don't see what you're claiming because of after prayer, therefore because of prayer. That's my response to you.
And the big thing that what's so frustrating about this, Ulrich, is that we literally just covered it.
Yes.
When we're talking about these people were prayed for and then they got healed. Okay, is that the only thing that happened or not? Was there a bunch of other shit? Maybe the janitor walked by with evergreen scented stuff instead of lemon scented cleaner today. Was that what did it? What about all the other times that something else happened and the similar result happened? You could analyze all of these different options and come up with actual answers, but you don't. You find something that feels good and you believe it because you want to believe it because you want to believe it because you want to believe it. That's not how thinking works, dude.
Yeah, you're counting the hits and ignoring the misses.
Yes, and Graham, you took the words right out of my mouth. Is the thing is, in these situations, there was a lot of things happening that helped these people get better, namely doctors. People actually perform medical miracles, real miracles, actual medicine. Elliot pointed this out earlier. Funny how disease has been around for all of human history and prayer has been around for all of human history. It's only when medical science advanced that we started seeing the disease go away, and the prayer is now what is given the credit. It's ridiculous. If you were honest about this, you would accept the fact that I'm not saying it is what happened, but it's possible that the medicine is what fixed these people. The medicine is what cured these people. The doctors are what did the work to cure these people. And if you now have two options, either it was God or it was the doctors, you can now run some tests. And the Templeton Foundation did. And what they found out through actual science done by people who want to believe like you do, who are biased in your direction, if anything, they found that this doesn't work. In fact, it almost usually makes things worse. Right. It's better for people to go to a doctor and get medicine than it is for them to pray. I have different questions for you, and I don't know if we're going to have time for any of them.
We probably should.
I'll just end by saying there is a county in Idaho called Canyon County. It has a graveyard populated with 600 gravestones of children, because that county is that state is the last remaining state in this country that gives an legal exemption to parents who let their kids die because they refuse to give them proper medical care and instead anoint them with oil as instructed by the Bible and pray over them. And we have cases of children dying of an ear infection that could have been treated with a drop, and they die because it goes to their brain, with the most faithful people in the world praying over their sick children day in and day out, to the point that documentaries have been made about this. And why has that law not been changed? because people who are Christian keep saying, I don't want to vote down a law that favors other people's religion. I don't want to interfere with that. That's the harm of what you're talking about. If you just say prayer works because I saw it work one time, I think, you lead to this conclusion. It's despicable, quite frankly. Stop allowing this sort of thought process when you know what it's going to do.
I'm to blame.
Yes, you are, quite frankly. Absolutely. If you've been explained, if this has been explained to you time in and time out, of course it's a fallacy, but I'm speaking in a broader metaphorical sense. The bigger the Christian community is, the reason that law is still on the books, it has made it out of committee. They have tried to get rid of this law multiple times. It always makes it out of committee. The people who actually examine it are like, we need to get rid of this. It goes to the floor. It's a unicameral house in Idaho. It gets voted down, and every single person that votes against it that is willing to speak on the record, the politicians say, I'm not going to vote against fellow Christians. So having these irrational views contributes to harm abstractly, but it does. So yes, I do blame you one iota.
I also want to point out the fact that very funny for you to say that we are committing a fallacy here when your entire goddamn argument is lots of people believe this, so it's probably true, which is, follow me here, called the bandwagon fallacy, which is an actual logical fallacy, not the shit that you were claiming as a fallacy at the beginning, and Elliot had to correct you. Most importantly, you talk about the harm from this shit. Ulrich, we've talked a million times. You wouldn't believe the dumb homophobic and transphobic shit that you do if you didn't believe the dumb supernatural shit that you do. Oh, wow. Yes, this causes harm. You are an example of that. Yes, I do blame you for a lot of things. Grow the fuck up.
And I know we all heard it.
Yes.
I know we all heard it, and there were just too many other things we had to touch on. But remember when he gave his definition for supernatural?
Yes.
And one of the definitions was that it was undetectable by any of the means.
I
and then
wrote
proceeded
that in
to
my
go
notes.
about how he detected the shit.
Oh my God. That was one of the questions. I know we don't have time for it. One of the questions I wanted to ask was, how do you tell the difference between something that is completely unobservable and undetectable and shit that isn't real? And apparently it's toes growing or something. I don't know. I feel like
ShowMeTheToes.com, ladies and gentlemen.
I feel like we shouldn't encourage people to go to something that has that name.
We've had toe conversation. We've had butthole conversation. I mean, honestly, this has been a great
had a
show.
ball. I've had a ball.
We've had balls, too.
I had a ball here.
The last time I talked to Ulrich, he ended on screaming about how he didn't want to talk about my penis. And you know what? Until he's ready to, I don't want to take another call from him.
Folks, call in and talk about him
specifically. We've talked a few times. It's never been pleasant. But I tell you what, I have terrible news, sad news for everybody out there, and that is that we have to change hosts, which means you have to say goodbye.
Are you leaving? I'm not leaving.
I thought
you have to say goodbye.
Oh, no. Both of us. It's both of us.
I'm sorry.
All right.
I have terrible news.
We'll go get food.
Food
fuck you. You'll stay here and starve.
I'll stay here and starve. Life is hell, and I am trapped in this studio. I just wake up here sometimes, and it's a nightmare. But while I do have this terrible news that we have to get rid of these wonderful hosts, I also have fantastic news. And that fantastic news is that we have Objectively Dan and JMike, who are now going to be joining me for the show and who are creeping in beside me at this very moment for your soon-to-be viewing pleasure. Again, that call, it got confrontational, but it got confrontational because the person on the phone was notorious for being confrontational. If you want to talk to atheists who disbelieve in the things that you believe in, we're nice. We're usually nice. Unless you're mean, we're nice. And the number is on the bottom of the screen, and there's also a web link that you can call into as well. But for right now, I'm delighted to introduce you to JMike and Objectively Dan, everybody. Woo! Look at them.
Yeah. All right.
So handsome.
That would be the first time I heard that.
That's not true. Come on. Remember that girl that was saying you looked like Rasputin when we were walking downtown the other night?
Yeah, that's true.
That was good. That was a compliment, I think.
It was. And then someone drives by in one of those passenger bikes, and it's just like,
yeah, they were playing Rasputin, and then this drunk girl was like, "Oh my God, like Rasputin.
Yeah.
He's here. And she was like, it's my boyfriend's birthday. Say it's his birthday. And you were just like, I'm Rasputin. It was really funny.
It was great.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, really quickly, we are running a direct fundraiser for the ACA below the chat right now. 100% of your donations go to the Atheist Community of Austin. YouTube does not take a cut. So if you want to support this show and all the other things that we do here at the ACA, please consider leaving a donation right there. Also happy to announce that on August 29th, the Atheist Community of Austin will be hosting a presentation by my son, Seth Andrews, with an introduction by genetically modified skeptic and the Antibot. Join us at the Round Rock Public Library for an evening of pizza, conversation, and critical thinking.
Speaking of genetically modified, I wonder how that whole situation works because, well, that's pretty interesting.
Genetically modified with the pizza?
Well, yeah, with the sun
The
thing.
sun stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
I was thinking the same.
Right.
Yeah. Don't,
The joke.
just,
This is great. I come
you
into
have to have faith.
I like coming to the studio with the tablet, and the first thing I see on the screen is showmethetoes.com.
Show me the
Yeah,
That's great.
It's
That's
it
a great thing to
leaves a
walk
lot of
into.
questions that nobody wants to answer.
Yeah.
Anyway, learn more about the thinking atheist who is coming to the public library here at tiny.cc/evening with Seth. And last but not least, before we jump into our next call, can we thank the crew for a second?
Yes.
Let's thank them crews. Check those guys out. Look at that. Tina is taking a call right now. She
Yeah.
is currently helping us make more content. Incredible. Thank you all so much for everything that you do to make this show possible. We appreciate it. And thank you at home for watching these shows and donating to these shows and being a part of this community. You also make these shows possible. We wouldn't have a show to produce if we didn't have cool cats like you to watch them. And with that, I'm ready to jump right in to line number 6 here. Let's talk to Caleb. Pronouns he, him. Calling in all the way from Wallaby Armpits, who says that God is existence itself. Caleb, you were on the Atheist Experience with JMike, Objectively Dan,
To be fair to
and
Caleb,
Forrest Valkai.
it is a question, so I'm not sure if that's what Caleb thinks.
It is a question. Caleb, you may believe what I just said. You definitely believe. Hi, how are you? Welcome to the Atheist Experience.
How are you guys doing?
Good.
Great, man.
Doing great.
Good. Yeah. So I put that question in. I didn't have that was just kind of the best way that I could word it. But basically, let me explain it like this. So I just came from Mass. I'm Catholic, but not very sure. I'm mostly sure I'm Catholic, but I'm not 100%. And I had this conversation with a friend right after Mass. I asked him, I'm kind of struggling. I'm not sure God is real. I'm not confident that he is. I can't walk up to somebody and say, hey, I know God's real. Here's how I know. I can't be completely sure of that. And so I just tried asking him from the view of a skeptic because, my parents raised me to be skeptical about other people. And I still try to be like that mostly. And I asked him my friend, how do you know God's real? And he's like, okay, well, I have a problem with the question. I was like, what do you mean? And so he said, God, you can't say that you prove God exists because God is existence itself.
Sure,
it's like saying, does existence exist? He says, that basically doesn't make sense. And so I was like, okay, well, can you, go
Do
a
you
little
think
bit
that
further
makes?
into
Do you
that?
think that statement makes sense?
I mean, what I know that existence is real. We can all understand that the universe, everything around us is real. It exists. How do we, that demands an explanation. And how do we go about determining, what is the explanation for that?
Well, that might be a separate
that's,
thing. The question on the table of whether or not God is existence itself sounds like a type of category error or something. It's you're confusing a property or a predicate that you'd use to describe a subject with the subject itself, right? So because if that person went up to somebody who thinks that existence is a property of some object or it's a predicate that we use to ascribe to some object, like the ball exists, they're not going to be very compelled by when someone says, well, God is existence itself, because what they're going to say is you're conflating something that's a property, if that's their view, or some predicate usage in the language with the subject itself, right? It seems really confused. It's like painting a dream blue or something. It just seems kind of like a weird statement.
Yeah.
That's why we keep JMike around. We get cool ass words like predicate.
Yeah, predicate subject.
Yeah.
We're supposed to learn these terms at school, guys.
Right.
Anyway, how does that resonate with you, Jake?
Let me
You understand? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I'm kind of getting it. I I definitely didn't even think about that. Let me give you an example of something that I think can maybe help expand upon this.
Okay, yeah.
I'm sure you guys have probably heard about, what is it?
No, go ahead.
No, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I'll go on. So I'm sure you guys have heard about St. Thomas Aquinas. He's like one of the most famous philosophers and theologians in the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And one thing that he really liked studying Aristotle, and he liked learning about how he perceived like what is existence, what is essence, all these nebulous concepts. And he basically made an observation, and I think this observation makes sense, but I want to hear what you guys think. So basically,
I've thought a lot about the Aristotelian
around
proof and
emotion.
Thomism, so I'm definitely down to talk about it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, so basically it's kind of like this. So we can see things move, like we observe things moving, maybe not even just physical things, but just the nature of things change over time. Like we observe that change is always a force and that things move. Well, so basically we know from our experience that when something moves, something has pushed it, because that's all of the evidence that we have. We don't have any evidence, any firsthand examples of something moving that didn't push it, or something that changed that didn't make it change, or anything like that. And that
you want real quick, just for brevity, just real quick, like you're thinking of this idea like you have the hand and a stick, and you push the stick, which your hand moves the stick, which moves the ball, right, and then that moves the ball rolling, or it hits another rock. Like you're what you want to do is talk about some types of considerations from motion, and try to work your way back, right, to this kind of to this terminus, right?
What's the thing,
to the terminus, right? Is that the idea?
What's the unmoved mover, basically? Because it doesn't make sense for it to be infinitely regressing.
So, okay, we'll have to return to that, because I don't know what you mean by it doesn't make sense. Now, like, if that's some type of personal incredulity, maybe, like, you can't imagine it. Like, I understand that's something.
Yeah, I just don't get it.
And that's something I wouldn't
I
get.
don't understand it.
Yeah, and I don't. I don't want to like bash you and be like, oh, it's so easy to understand it. You know, like. It's something that will give people a hang up, like how do I get to the present moment with an infinite series of causal events or something. Like I completely understand the kind of hang up that some people have. I don't think there's a contradiction there, but let's put a pin on that. Let's like save that for a second. There's something more robust that might be going on in these like Thomistic metaphysics when you talk about like, it's not merely just kind of like these moved mover kind of things. It's that there's a theology, and there's an argument in mind that God is also the sustainer of these objects. Like he sustains them in existence, right? Is that something you've heard as well?
Yeah, I brought this up to my friend, and he says that like, oh yeah, there's constants, like gravity is a constant,
Gotcha.
like that's always the same, or something like, temperature is always the same. There's a lot of these constants that are constantly they don't ever change. That's always how they are, and that has to, something has to keep that going. That's kind of what he was saying.
Yeah, but when you look at this, like if I was to be as humble as I could and just want to compare the kind of views, right? Like we treat them like they're hypotheses, and we're trying to explain this data of motion or these things existing or sustaining causes, right? They sustain an existence. If I have a view where instead of thinking that God's doing all this work, like sustaining, me and Elliot were talking about this in the hotel room, because he was kind of like, it's almost like you have like these infinite kind of gods that are sustaining these things or something, like, and you can get a lot more, like your hypothesis isn't going to be overinflated with this like weird stuff if you just have this assumption in mind that objects have this, call it existential inertia. They have this power to persist in existence, right? It's a power that objects have. And until something like knocks it out of existence, you don't need like agency sustaining it. It's a property that they have in themselves, right? And I've gotten rid of all this God baggage and this foreign ontology that like is hard to describe. It's like outside of space and all this kind of stuff. So I don't see the advantage of this argument. And I'll try to finish this up. Thomism has highly contentious metaphysical assumptions. If you came to me and tried to get me to accept this, I'm going to be like, well, this assumes the falsity of my thesis, which is existential inertia. I don't need to posit things sustaining them. I kind of side with the empirical sciences, and I'm just like, well, this seems to be like, philosophically seems like they have this kind of, this persistence of existence on their own. I don't need anything else, right? But I don't know what you think about that. I'm just kind of pointing out that in order to kind of get off the table, before we even get to like certain premises, of this argument, I'm going to have to accept highly contentious and dubious metaphysical assumptions that a lot of philosophers just think are dog shit, right? So I need like more independent argument for that, and this is kind of the problem I see with philosophy is it's this like inception of arguments that it's really hard to get to like a no pun intended, a terminus, right?
This is why we keep JMike around.
That's right.
Sorry, I'll shut up
We
now.
get terms like Thomistic metaphysics.
That's right.
Well, Caleb, hopefully this is resonating with you because I'm sure you're around people
Yeah.
that talk about this kind of stuff a lot, right?
I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the reasons why I ended up going a Catholic route is because they didn't say like, oh, you just have to believe because it's just God made the world. You know, you just have to read the Bible. It's like, no, we're going to respect your intelligence a little bit more and say,
Sure.
okay, well, you're trying to explain it. You know, asking deeper questions as to why are you asking these questions, or it goes further than that, or you know, that you can be rational and also believe, and that they complement one another. Like even if it's not necessarily true, like it definitely does resonate with me, but it's honestly, if I'm going to be honest, a lot of this does kind of go over my head. I'm still kind of.
Well, I mean, it goes over my head too. I'm not a philosopher by any stretch of the imagination.
Are you saying it's very contentious kind of stuff?
Sure, yes. Yeah.
Here's another.
Exactly.
Here's a
great.
secondary
That's the
critique.
problem with it.
Yeah.
Here's a secondary critique you can take with this, right? Like, you were talking about Thomas Aquinas. Obviously, he was influenced by Aristotle, right? And the reason why he's doing that is the Greeks were doing better philosophy than what anyone else was doing back in the day. They had to make these ideas make sense because the Bible doesn't make sense and the God of the Bible doesn't make sense, right? That's why you see that secondary sort of shift in Christianity between the New Testament versus like the Old Testament. That's why like the God of the New Testament looks so different. Like there is a shift in this idea of what God is, and of course Aquinas was inspired by that and all these other Catholic, philosophers and stuff, right? So like if you really look at the character of God and how he's described in the Bible, that isn't really consistent with a lot of these sorts of universalist claims that they make about God anyway. Like he seems to have a particular character and exist in space and time in various capacities.
Isn't divinely simple.
Isn't
probably
divinely
has
simple. Yeah,
parts,
there's all kinds of other takes you can do with that don't have to deal with the crazy metaphysical terms and stuff either.
And if I could just really quickly, Caleb, I'm a scientist. I care about evidence and shit. And
I
it's
do
kind of
real
my biggest,
shit, by the way.
kind of my
Real
biggest
shit.
failing. You talk about St. Thomas Aquinas here, and I, for a few reasons, I'm not a fan. But like, I think if I were you, and I wanted to keep it in this framework of Catholicism and everything like that, I think you're focusing on the wrong St. Thomas. I think instead of St. Thomas Aquinas, I think you should be looking at St. Thomas, also named Didymus in the Bible, who, when Jesus was raised from the dead, when Jesus came back, he met with, depending on which gospel you're looking at, either Mary Magdalene alone or like Mary and the other Mary or like a bunch of people or whatever.
Yeah.
Eventually, he gets his way to meeting all of his disciples except for Thomas. He meets all these disciples except for Thomas, and all the disciples, all of Thomas's dear friends in faith and fellowship, all come to him and say, our Lord has returned, Jesus is back. And Thomas, who has every reason to believe this, every desire to believe this, says, I do not believe this. I don't believe a word of this until he comes here in front of me. I want to put my fingers in the holes in his hands.
Whoa.
I want to put my fingers in the holes in his feet. I want to
Careful.
put my fingers in the holes in his side, the hole in his side. I want to
ShowMeToes.com.
know for sure that this is Jesus. I want to show me those toes for sure.
He wants to see those holes.
And Jesus comes to Thomas and says, here I am. And he says, put your fingers in the holes in my hands and feet and side. And only after Thomas does that, does he then accept who Jesus is and who he says he is. And then in the next line, I believe this is in John, in the next line, it says that Jesus performed many more tests. He showed himself in many more ways. He proved himself in all of these different ways that we didn't write down here. It literally says, the next line, in all these different ways that we will not write down here, Jesus proved himself. And then the next thing you learn is, blessed are those who have not seen and yet still believe. So 2,000 years ago, Jesus Christ himself was totally fine with the idea that you don't have to believe in me unless you can finger my holes yourself. And now here we are in 2025, and you are forced to believe on the words of Thomas Aquinas, some other asshole Thomas, who's like, you know what, though? Here's some vague, weird
Hey guys,
philosophy.
stuff exists, right? I think we should.
What if things didn't exist? That doesn't make any sense. Probably God, right? And you're having to jump through these mental loopholes to try to make something make sense that doesn't fucking make sense. And I agree with you. Everything that JMike talked about sounded really cool. Not my department at all. And I'm here to just tell you, I don't fucking know. I don't know where this universe came from. I know I have some friends who are physicists that tell me really cool shit. I'm not a physicist, so I don't know.
Don't believe in God because Thomas Aquinas told you.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the lamest way.
And just don't, that's what I'm trying to get at is like, dude, any explanation isn't a good explanation.
Yeah.
Any explanation isn't the satisfactory explanation. The correct explanation is the one that actually satisfies your mind and actually meets the criteria of some serious fucking reasoning. That's what you should be looking for. Jesus was willing to provide that 2,000 years ago. If you don't get it today, you shouldn't believe. Don't believe because you have to. Don't believe because I don't know isn't satisfying. Believe it when you have a good reason to believe it. And if you don't. That's my argument to you. That's what I would say.
What do you thinking, Caleb?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't believe. I mean, ultimately, I'm just looking for truth. That's all I care about. I'm trying to find it, and if I thought, maybe I can find it in religion, but now I'm thinking, I mean, some of it makes sense, but a lot of it doesn't really track, and I just I'm just I mean, St. Thomas, and I don't know if he is a saint in the Bible or not, but yeah, if I were to ask somebody in the church to say, oh, that's an example of somebody that, you shouldn't be, you should just believe because God's already proven himself. Like St. Paul writes that in Romans. He says, oh, God's made himself obvious to everyone in the world. You don't have.
Wouldn't it be cool if you were among everyone in the world?
Yeah,
right. Clearly not.
Yeah, I mean, because look, there's like counter considerations to this. Like, I think Schellenberg has these considerations about like non-resistant non-believers. So people that don't believe and they're not resistant to this idea of God. Like they're very open. There's like, look, I just want to know whether or not God exists. And I think a lot of people in the audience might classify themselves as non-resistant non-believers. They don't believe, hey, I want to know if this is true, how it would impact my life. I just want to know the truth of this.
Yeah.
And it does seem like, I would look into like I don't know that I'd be able to like reproduce the argument necessarily, but
Sure.
This general idea is, it seems like highly unexpected on this hypothesis of a being that desires to share, its message, the goal, this thing that's like the most important thing we could ever ask ourselves, but people that aren't resistant, like don't get this gift that a bunch of people that, were just maybe born into it, happen to get the right religion, and God's like, that's fine, we'll allow that to go. But this person who's like genuinely, begging, it's like, it's kind of hard to think that like this project of Thomistic metaphysics would be needed.
Because
to like that's like more than half the population just not, they're gonna be like, dude, I'm checking out. This is a lifelong project, and there's so much shit in this.
Right. Like
I don't even know where to start.
No, it's like the conception of God as this universal being who wants a relationship with people and is also love and is also all these other things. Somehow, like, doesn't care about Aborigines and had to have like people come and tell them about Jesus. Like, why didn't you have that relationship with them in the first place? If you look at the history of Christianity as a religion, it makes more sense to have naturalistic explanations as to why people have these experiences with God and why people have these relationships than just, God just happened to favor these particular people in the Middle East a couple thousand years ago. And he's also, that's the God of the universe. Also, is the God of the Old Testament. Also, he's love and he's justice and he's everything else. That lacks clear
well, under that view,
right?
his God's love, like under this view, which makes this like incoherent. I don't. Were we talking about like theological?
It's more of a theological critique than
Yeah, but it's like here's a very big word. You ready? It's like a type of theological non-cognitivism. This idea that it's
just made that up.
Yeah,
No,
it's this idea that it's not propositional.
I've heard that before, but I'm not.
Yeah,
sure.
so
What does that mean?
No, you haven't.
Well, so cognitivism is like this idea that it's propositional. So like it is a statement like it is raining. It can be true or false, right? So there's like there's like some type of propositional value. But if I was just like boo murder or like yay charity, right, or something like that. There's some people that would say like, look, I don't think people are expressing propositions when they're saying moral stuff. They're just like expressing their preferences like boo and yay, and that's not like a proposition.
Yeah.
So similarly with this, what's kind of committed on this view is that God's identical to like every property he has because he's divinely simple and he doesn't have parts or properties and things like that. If you're getting into this divine simplicity doctrine, and that's going to it's going to say something like God's necessary nature is identical to his omniscience, which his omniscience is identical to his omnipotence, which is identical to his omnibenevolence. That doesn't even sound like that's something a person could believe to be true, right?
Yeah.
So I worry on this view that it's like not even in the category of something that could be believed by somebody because it just turns out to be gibberish, right?
Yep.
It's just like saying
that's
up,
why
down, fart, butt. Like, it's just not a thing.
That's why I prefer using the term atheist because it's essentially the same.
Yeah, it would be like an atheist.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I like to use the word atheist instead of atheist sometimes to describe myself because if God is not a clear, concise idea in and of itself, how can I even say I believe in him or not? There's so many different conceptions of God. We just talked about the Thomistic conception of God. That's very different from what early Christians believe, very different from what Jewish people believed and still do, right? So, you know,
it directly contradicts thinking that God is made of parts.
Right.
And
So anyway, we don't even know what God is.
Yeah.
That's what we're coming at. Like, so somebody saying, "Oh, God is the universe. God is existence." I'm just going to be skeptical of that. I have no idea what that means until I see otherwise.
Oh, there's actually probably another object. If someone says something like God is everything or something like that, then you get this weird thing because I can do this like count. I can like, there's a water bottle, there's this, there's that, and then I count for like everything. And then now when you say God is everything, God is really just this abstract object. Like it's this abstraction from the things that I have. And so I don't think abstract objects exist, so therefore God doesn't exist. So you would be like presenting me on a platter an argument that I'd be like, okay, well look, I have independent reasons to think that abstract objects don't exist. And if it turns out that you're saying God is everything, and that's just like, well, so it's not just the laptop and this. The God part matters. Okay, well, the only thing I feel like I can do with that is it's some abstraction. I don't think those things exist independent of my mind. And so then God just wouldn't exist on my view, if that's what's being said.
Oh, hold on. Let me just clarify at least what I've been led to believe.
Yeah, sorry.
I think that's called pantheism, which is the belief that the universe is God. Like, as far as I know, that's definitely not what the Catholic Church teaches.
No, yeah, definitely not.
From what I've learned, is that this is his creation, and that God can't, create himself because then he wouldn't be God. Who would have created God, right?
Self-causation would be very hard to do.
It's even more nebulous than that.
Yeah.
It's like being a box within a. It's like has self-contained box, or like it's just creating itself, like presupposes its existence.
It's a whole thing.
Also, if this God is real and its chosen representation is the Catholic Church, maybe not a God worth worshiping in the first place, But Caleb, I think we've beaten this, in all different angles. I hope you call us back, and tell us how your journey is going. If you come up with any other answers to what we've talked about, if you come up with any reasons to continue believing, we want to hear them. And I can't wait for the day that you call us back and like, yo, guess what? I'm an atheist now, and I'm doing this. I'm opening a pizza shop somewhere in New England, and I went surfing last weekend.
I want to come to like these Catholic churches and hang out with the Aquinas boys.
Do you really?
I do, because I want to.
Does that sound like a good time to you?
It does. I want to stand and hear what they have to say and like hear.
You and I have different ideas about what a great time is.
And then just be like, well.
He's a strange man.
I don't know if you know, but there's a lot of objections to what you said.
Yeah.
Anyway, Caleb, I really appreciate your call. I hope you have an awesome rest of your day. We're gonna move on to our last thing of the show.
Yeah, you guys.
Thank you for calling us.
Awesome. Yeah, you guys have a good one.
Thanks, Caleb.
Bye-bye.
I will say, like, that Catholic Thomistic project, it is like a lifelong. There's a lot of stuff to read, but because that's the case, you put so much out on the table, and it makes it really easy to find these like contradictions. Like Ryan Mullins, he's a non-classical theist, and then Joe Schmidt, he's a agnostic or atheist. They wrote a paper together on like, showing this kind of like contradiction entailed by divine simplicity. And
dude, I was just reading that at the bath last night.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting.
Who doesn't?
It's interesting because you have these like in-house disputes between theists on this stuff, and it's like, it's like, well, I'm sitting here on the side, figure it out. No, I'll be waiting when you guys get the right model. For me.
Yeah. And I love that because like science is all about disagreement and argument as well. Like there's an old joke, a group of crows is called a murder, a group of ferrets is called a business, a group of scientists is called a disagreement. But like we can agree on the thing that exists and then disagree on how it works and all these things. And with a lot of these theistic arguments, they don't even agree on what God exists, how it exists, where it exists. Just like I like the idea of a guy that made the things happen. And we're going from there, what can we now decide? And it doesn't resonate.
Apparently don't agree on what it means for something to exist.
No,
now it's,
they
now
did-
it's
what-
the
what
thing
does that
now it's the thing itself. Yeah.
We've got one more question that we're going to take today. Rather than taking a call, we're actually going to take a question from our lovely audience here in the studio. Greg, who are we talking to today?
Me.
Oh, flip. All right.
shoot.
Yeah. Greg, everybody.
God himself.
Cameo.
First of all, I want to thank everybody in the audience for coming out.
Yay, the audience.
I want to thank all of our wonderful hosts we had on the show today, and everybody out there watching. We love you all more than you know. But anyway, I kind of wanted to wrap this up with maybe some things that have been asked of you before, but maybe not asked on a show. So I have a question for each of you, and then I have a common question at the end. So, Forrest,
Hey.
what is your favorite biological oddity?
Okay.
Mike, what is your favorite philosophical argument to utterly destroy?
Oh God, what am I? Okay.
And Dan, what is your favorite weird out there supernatural claim that you love talking about most on the show? And then my question for all of you, and you may or may not agree, but who is your favorite other ACA host to work with and why?
Wow.
Oh man, that one's gonna hurt some feelings. I feel like.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
He's just creating a hierarchy here. There's a division involved. I don't like that.
It's awful.
Well, I worked with
That's
Seth
awkward.
Andrews pretty recently in a sense. Like, am I allowed to just?
It
I can
would
pull
be-
you all the way.
It would
you
be
can all
so
just get mad at
funny
me.
if
That
none
way I
of
don't-
us said Elliot. It would be so funny if none of us said
No. It's I'll let you answer the. Let's go in order.
Let's go in order.
Okay. Asking me my favorite biological oddity is like asking a chef their favorite food. It's really difficult for me to pin one down, but off the top of my head at this moment, just mammary glands are modified sweat glands, what we would call sudoriferous glands, and you already have water and a little bit of salt in there. You just keep adding nutrients, and then you have milk, and that's why early, like the lowest taxonomy of the lowest most basal kind of mammals, monotremes, still have milk patches rather than nipples. Nipples are just straws. They're just, you take that same duct and just elongate it and focus it in one way. It is nutrient-rich sweat coming out of a skin straw. And that is what defines our entire goddamn clay.
Bro, we're about to eat dinner like right after this, man.
Are you getting it out of a skin straw? Like, what are you doing? Because like there were some babies in here
This
earlier.
is why we don't do
and let me
in-person
tell
shows
you
with you anymore. For
why they suck.
Oh.
They're terrible things. Terrible things.
crazy. All right, well, that's an answer.
Yeah.
Ah man.
It's a good one. I'm just giving you
Favorite to destroy. I mean, I don't. I probably fine tuning.
fine-tuning, right.
Especially because I know a lot of people. They're like that one gives me the most trouble was the fine tuning, and I think that's an empirical claim. So in order to get off the ground, what you have to kind of do is say like, assume our best science says this. Now you proceed, right? You have to kind of make these assumptions because it's not clear what's put in by hand, and these kind of people way more into the kind of physics would shit on me. So I'm gonna not do this, right? I'm not gonna go in that, but. There's obviously a debate, right? There's an empirical investigation inquiry to have. So, but if we do our best to say, let's assume our best science says that there's constants, they could vary in all these different ways, and a very small range of ways that the universe could be, maybe just one way, would permit life. And so the idea is that that's going to be better explained on theism than like naturalism or some type of atheistic view, because there's a desire that God wants those for a purpose, right? He wants the constants this way because he wants life. But one really easy way to think about this is think about the space we've drawn out where we have all of these ways the constants could be, with the universe is collapsing on themselves this way, or we get the life we get, or maybe it's just a bunch of Forrests just talking biological facts all the time, right? All these different ways they could be. Now think of all the way God's desires could be. For each one of the ways that you could change the constants, you could correspond a potential desire that God has. And so when you make this move where you want to say, look, you need this desire in order to explain this finely tuned constant. You can't stop there. You have to go parity of reasoning. You need to keep going. That is the same improbability to land on that desire for that constant rather than the infinite other desires God could have for the infinite amount of constants. So by parity of reasoning, we're going to get an infinite regression of fine-tuners, because now we need a fine-tuner to design the desires of God in order to finally pick out those constants, and that's going to go over and over and over again. And I love seeing people's like eyes kind of glaze over this when they're like, they finally get it, and they're like, do you deny that God, he's an omnipotent being? He could create any one of these worlds, could he not? Yes, he could. Why does he have this desire over any of the other desires? And why does that not cause the same problem on a higher level that you now need a fine-tuned designer for those desires ad infinitum?
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Butterflies can taste with their feet, y'all.
That's cool. I like
That's
that.
another one.
You already had your oddity.
I'm just saying. I just want to throw another one in.
Okay, so I was thinking about this. I think I could break it down into favorite cryptid and favorite conspiracy theory. So you do both.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Best conspiracy theory, my favorite one, talking about in Truth One, and we don't talk about it very often, but I really like the idea that the U.S. invasion of Iraq was not because of terrorism, it's not because of oil, but because the U.S. government found Nephilim bones, and that they had to cover that shit up and take it up. And this is supported by like early 2000s Photoshop jobs of people with just next to giant bones.
I think I've seen those.
It's awesome. It's so cool. I love it. That's the best. Anything that
Or
involves Nephilim.
the
is
chariots, the wheels.
Yeah. I love the idea that wars are started because of angel bones. That's just cool. I just like that. Also, so talking about cryptids, Makole Mbembe is, first of all, a fun thing to say. It is a cryptid that supposedly lives in the Congo, and it's basically just a giant sauropod, right?
Okay.
And the idea is like, you know, this dinosaur is just living among us, right? And it's just hanging out in the jungle. We just haven't found it yet. And there have been young Earth creationists that have attempted to go out to the Congo just to find this dinosaur. Because if they can prove that dinosaurs lived at the same time as people, then it kind of throws evolution and all that stuff, you know, out of whack, right? And of course, they've never found it. But I just love the idea of a grown adult planning a trip to Africa to go to the jungle to find some dinosaurs.
Yeah.
It's just awesome. What a cool thing.
It's funny because I know the one you're talking about because I did a video. One of my episodes of React here a little while ago included this guy who runs a creation museum here in Texas. And he was like, here's this great scientist, this great zoologist who is going out and exploring the very jungles around us to find evidence. And it was this dude who calls himself a zoologist who goes out and explores the jungle looking for cryptids.
Yes.
And he was looking for that one. He was going to the Congo to find this sauropod. And that's the guy, that's the scientist that they were able to reference. Say, this random guy who says he's a scientist believes in this, therefore it's true. And what blows my mind is if the argument really just has to be dinosaurs lived with people, you can do that with evolution because bitch, them's birds.
Nah, man.
Birds are dinosaurs.
Nah, man, I want to be able to ride on that shit like the Flintstones.
Yeah, have you seen ostrich riding? It's a thing.
Okay, but that's not a sauropod, man. I want to be like Godzilla.
No, it's
like
a theropod.
Shit. Yeah, okay, whatever.
Speaking of, so SR did exactly what
What's
he
he
did
doing?
here.
He's giving a hug.
Guys, you didn't answer the question who your favorite.
We haven't gotten there yet.
You haven't gotten there. What do you mean?
We're just touching. We're getting to it.
Okay. I'll just wait patiently and cutely.
Well, actually, it's interesting because when you came in the door at the hotel, I was watching Ancient Aliens, right?
Yes.
Because I flipped to it and I couldn't fucking look away.
Yeah.
Like it was just a train wreck, and I'm watching. They're standing next to this wall, and they're like, we don't know why the arc on it's so tall. You know, it has to be extraterrestrials or giants or something like that. And I'm sending messages to SR like, dude, now they're standing next to a stone wall, and it's got the hair guy, and they're like, it has to be aliens. And I'm laughing, sending these messages. And Elliot comes in the room or whatever, and he gets to this part where they're talking about like Chinese festivals and parades and how they lift the dragon up into the inflatable kind of dragons up, and they release them.
Yeah.
And they were like, could it be the case that people back in the day weren't really seeing dragons? but extraterrestrial crafts
Oh, hell yeah.
shaped like dragons.
Yes.
And I look at Elliot, and he just goes, because that's naturally what you would make a
That's-
spaceship.
that's
An
absolutely-
obvious dragon
I
shape.
think that's got to be what it
Dragon
is.
shape. All of our planes.
That is
look
my
like
favorite.
yeah,
that is
if you
my
think
favorite
about it, yes.
conspiracy is that the reason why we have dragons in lore is because really we had dragon-shaped ships that
That's a good
aliens
one.
created.
I
and
don't know that I heard that.
That's the reason why.
All right, Ellie, since you're here, I'll go first on this question. Okay,
I just wanted that to be on your.
I'm not going to say absolute favorite because Greg's a psychopath, and we're not doing that. I will say one of my favorites is Secular Rarity right here. This. Come sit on this knee, bud. Yeah, get over here.
Get over there.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
My cell phone
here's
is
why.
currently
I love,
inside
I love
my
Elliot,
thigh.
and I love the way earlier you were talking to that guy, and you're like, I don't think you're stupid. Because you're like a police interrogator that just found the murderer, and he's like, I don't think you're stupid. I don't think
you're bad.
I don't think
you
you're
meant to
bad.
hurt
And it's like,
I just think the script that I heard
I
is
just think
stupid.
you're so nice that I could almost believe that to be true, that you don't think that the person you're talking to is stupid or whatever. But no, you are a nice guy.
I have
and you-
$100 for you.
You have
for
a-
answering the question.
Yeah, well,
So I have it the worst because I have to go back to the room with this person, and so
Yeah, Mike. So who's your favorite fucking host?
this is very chaotic right now. Very chaotic energy in this room.
Greg said I could do this.
do I have a sip of water like I'm on the stand or
Here, bud.
something real quick?
yeah,
there we go.
With this,
Okay.
go ahead.
Mike, no pressure or anything. Just
My favorite host is Scott.
Nice. Good answer. Good answer.
Yeah.
I like
I
that.
love you. But you know what?
I love all the young
I
men in
feel
this
like
room.
I feel like me and Graham have actually bonded the most.
he
so
is actually. I
I'm-
really do.
Graham's
like
awesome.
Graham's a good guy.
that is.
Greg, why'd you make us do this? This is-
Objectively.
Why'd you do this?
What is this,
Greg?
Squid
Why'd you
Games?
do
I,
this?
no, let me
It's so
not
fucked
let me not
up.
be
Yeah.
awkward. I do fucking love this guy. I've spent
Hey,
2
hey,
times.
look at
now.
that.
Hey, look at
Graham,
this.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Get up in here with your
screwing
non-sponsored
everything up.
beverage.
This is happening.
But you
Yes.
have to understand something. I interviewed Dan when I was a fan of the show.
Oh,
So I was telling him, I was like, it's cool for me.
He is
because
no
I was
longer
a really
a
big
fan
fan
of the
Dan. And now he's one of my buddies. So
Yeah.
it's cool.
well, this has just turned into a big
I know it's
hodgepodge.
complete.
Before I wrap up with my answer, I want to give a quick shout out to our incredible audience out there
Check 'em out.
who are still who sat through all of this.
Putting up with this foolishness.
Oh my goodness! I also want to take a second.
Flew in from the Netherlands.
I also want to take a second. We do have someone from the Netherlands.
That's great.
It's great. We have people from all over the place. And we also, I just want to thank all of our hosts here who have been with us. Whichever one is my favorite is irrelevant because they're all incredible.
Hey, favorite.
I want to thank our call screener and the rest of our crew. I want to thank all of our callers, even the ones that suck. I want to thank all of our chatters, even the ones that suck. I want to thank our mods. I want to thank everybody else. And with that, my favorite host is... See you next time, everybody, on Atheist Experience. We'll see you Sundays at 4:30 Central Standard Time, which is the best standard time. We'll see you then. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Greg said that was a great idea.
I just wanted to
Watch Talk Heathen live Sundays at 1 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTTH and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/callth.